Welcome to the Money Over 50 podcast, brought to you by Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue from Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. This information is general in nature and does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Therefore, you should consider whether the information is appropriate for you and your personal circumstances. If you require personal advice, please contact Money Over 50 Financial Advisors.
Welcome to Money Over 50. Today you're here with Dallas and Ali. Ali's got another topic for us, following on from a recent podcast we did. Today we're here to talk about the carry forward contribution limits and the fact that we've got a special timeline coming up. Ali, what can you tell us about that?
We do. So last episode we spoke about the tax cuts that are going to come in place from 1st of July 2024. And now we're talking about how that sort of ties in as well with the carry forward contributions. So just as, I guess, a brief explanation of what they are. So essentially carry forward contributions allow you to use up any of unused concessional contributions. I'm going to say contributions a lot, guys, so hopefully don't get confused here, but essentially allow you to use up any of those unused concessional contributions, which allow you to claim a tax deduction on a larger amount rather than the $27,500 concessional cap for the year.
So practically what, just to jump in there, Ali, like I guess what we see a lot is people when they come in for their meeting with us, often people know about there's a limit on what you can salary sacrifice into super, or what you can put into super and claim a tax deduction on in that year. And your concessional contribution cap is made up of your employer contributions plus any amounts that you've put into super and don't have to pay personal income tax on. So most people know that limit. There's a limit to that each year on the maximum you can do. What they don't know is this carry forward section. So we often have people coming in where they go, I've really, I'm starting to get serious about this. So I've started salary sacrificing into super and I'm maxing out what I can do at the moment. What they don't know is that a few years ago, if they only had their employer contributions, say, of $10,000 per year going in, and the limit in that year was actually $25,000, that $15,000 unused portion, they can actually carry that forward into future years. And so what we sometimes see is people come in and they might actually be making regular contributions to use up their limit for this year, but they've got those unused carry forwards from previous years.
That's correct. And we do see that time and time again with a lot of, especially new inquiries that come in. They've hit a time where they really focus on doing the right thing and meeting those caps for the year, and they tend to be hitting that, but they do forget or they just didn't know that you could use up those previous years. So I guess the big thing where we're at now is essentially with that rule. Now, before you can even look at doing these, there are a couple of things that you sort of need to make sure. That's what's the rule? Is it 500,000? If you have a total super balance of 500,000 at 30th of June the previous year, if it's that or above, you can't actually take advantage of these. Yeah. But if your super balance is below that at that point in time, you essentially can. And the big thing is you can only look back 5 previous years. Yep. So not including the year that we're in. Now, this rule only started from the 2018-19 financial year. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So from, I guess, this period and ever since it sort of came out, we haven't really lost any opportunity to use up these carry forward contributions. But basically from 1st July 2024, that'll be the point in time where, now let me get this right, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. That'll be the last point where you will be able to
basically use it or you lose it at that point in time. Yeah.
Any financial year after that, you basically lose a year's worth of carry forward contributions.
And just to clarify what they, like you said, if in that example, in that 2018-19 year, for example, your limit was 25,000, you only had 10,000 employer contributions going, you didn't make anything else. That $15,000 amount, it gets dropped off the end. So if you once you get into that 6th, 7th year, you lose that $15,000. And what happens with these contributions is it basically it's like a first in, first out basis. So if you make a contribution, it automatically flows back down and uses up the oldest amount first, which is quite handy.
Another question is, how do you apply it to each year and stuff? But ATO basically does that automatically.
Yeah,
All you need to do is make a concessional contribution more than the cap for that year, and then it'll apply to that earliest time. So
and you can just, like, I guess for a lot of people, it's actually on your ATO portal now, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, yes, it is. Yeah.
So definitely have a look at that. We tend to. It's easier for us to get a client to look at those figures that are reported to the ATO, and
which we normally then have to cross-check with the super fund, because the ATO figures are sometimes old and dated, and
sometimes it's the other way around. And which one's correct? But
it's a bit of forensic accounting that goes on, but the concept remains the same. So that's exactly right, and that's where you mentioned this in that last podcast, Ali, is it lines up really neatly with this year and next year are sort of the last years where those marginal tax rates from 45,000 to up to 200,000, you're paying 34.5, 39, or in some cases on that last top little bit, you could be paying up to 47% in tax. And what we're saying here is that you've got the sort of two benefits of really trying to take advantage as much as possible this year and next, is that you're using up those unused carry forward limits, and you're also using it up in a year where you are likely to get a bigger tax saving than what you might get in 2 years' time. So this is, I guess, a bit of a catalyst probably for people who are going, I want to start making some contributions. I might have a look at that in a couple of years' time. Obviously, having a look in a couple of years' time is better than looking in 10 years' time. But if you're sitting there on the fence as to whether it's important to do it now or just wait a bit, or you're sort of going, I just want to tidy up this thing before I then look into that, it may well be worth looking at these contributions in these next couple of years, just to take advantage of that, use up those limits as well as use up those higher tax deductions, and then sort of reassess. But these are all the sorts of things that we're looking at. It just so happens that, like you said before in that other podcast, it lines up really neatly that the tax cuts and the carry forward limits weren't. I don't think that there was any great plan for them to line up in that way, but it just happens.
Just happened to line up perfectly, and they're two opportunities, I guess, that we can sort of take advantage of in this financial year, which has almost come to an end, and the next one to really maximise any sort of tax savings that you can get. And I guess, as we sort of always say, making contributions into super, concessional contributions in particular, one of the best ways to get tax savings that are out, because you're actually building your retirement savings, you're adding to that as well as getting tax back. So it's sort of I guess, if you're in that position and everything sort of makes sense. Again, I can't tell you to do that because I don't know if that makes sense for you. But
another just to add into that, something, a strategy that we've been looking at the moment with some clients is that I guess if you look at it this year and next year, for some people where they've only got a limited amount of cash that they can contribute into super, what we've looked at with a few people is, if they've got a large amount of unused carry forwards and they've got a big taxable income in this year, if you can make a substantial contribution into super in this year, pick up for example, if you could put $50,000 into super, claim the whole lot at 39%, you actually got $20,000. You've got a $20,000 tax refund that you by the time you do your tax and get that back in August, September, that's your $20,000 that you can turn around and put straight back into super and use up your last bit of your carry forwards and use up that in that next year. So.
Exactly one of the strategies I've used with new clients. So he's earning, this particular person's earning large income in these the next 5 years, and he had a huge amount of carry forward contributions because a lot of his income doesn't necessarily relate to high employer contributions. They're
the best when those ones happen. You look like a genius, don't you? Because you can go, hey, we're going to take this lump sum, put it in, you're going to get this massive tax saving.
And over 2 years we'll use up both of those, all of his carry forwards. So I think it's about a 50,000 contribution each year, roughly.
Yeah,
and he'll be getting over 20,000 extra in tax returns. So it's one of those things. Like if you can take advantage of it, sort of now's the best time. Of course, if it doesn't make sense or you can't, that's completely fine. But now is probably one of the better times to be taking advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Righto. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Money Over 50 podcast with Money Over 50 financial advisors. For more information and resources, visit the Money Over 50 website, mo50.com.au. We look forward to catching up again soon.